See you right there. You are just plain and boring, not different at all. But see me, I'm just built different, man, yeah. And in FPL, different can be better, huh? You get in the perfect differential, and it could be the very one thing to help you win FPL. Wow! So this is the FPL 2021-22 Differential Draft. As I discussed in yesterday's FPL school class, which you should definitely check out by the way if you're curious about ownership differentials and all that stuff, if you back a low-owned player, a differential, and it goes in your favour, you get a bigger profit, hey! As less people are getting those points, right? So you get more of a gain. And they're all for you, So what I thought I'd do here is build a differential team, 5% owned or less, where I'm not really suggesting the team itself, right? Not the overall team. But it's more to have a look at how good of a team you can actually make out of all of these forgotten men, all these differentials, all chucked to the side boys that are actually pretty good. But also, if any one specific player is tickling your pickle, you can just chuck them in your team and that is all good anyway. But again, our main focus is just looking and talking about differentials as a whole and the different types of differentials we have. So we start this built different team with Mr. Cap Lover himself, Dean Henderson. Henderson is only 5 million here and is selected by only 3% of players as well, which could be an absolute madness as he might be the first choice goalkeeper for Man United. That low owned. What? But obviously, the main reason he is that low owned is because of that uncertainty of stats, right? Where we don't really know if De Gea is leaving, if De Gea is staying. Will De Gea be first choice? Will Henderson be first choice? Oh, please let us know. We need to know. But if Henderson does become first choice, he generally could go all the way up to like 10% ownership overnight. And that is actually a good point already. A player may be low owned because we just don't know enough information yet. Not because they're a bad choice, but we don't fully know. Let's say we find out Henderson is 100% the first choice and won't get dropped. Then yeah, he's suddenly an amazing option at his price, right? And one that could turn into absolute gold. All the gold just for you because he is that low owned. But we move to the next player, who is the backup man with a plan, Carl Darlow. Now this one is a bit different, as he is the second choice goalkeeper for his team, right, the Newcastle. So yeah, it is quite obvious why he is only 1% owned. But now, recently, we have gained the news that Dubravka will be out for a few months with an injury, so Darlow now will be the starter for the start of the season, so, could do quite well. Newcastle's fixtures actually rotate really well with Brighton as well, so I reckon he's just one that you can chuck next to the very popular Sanchez and make the perfect pair. Oh yes, lovely. Now this differential is a bit different, right, as he's only a starter from an injury, and those kind of things actually go under the radar more because if you're not kept up to speed on everything, like does everybody check injury news on Newcastle goalkeepers? No, probably not. But doesn't mean they're a bad choice, and he could do very well. But now let's move on to the brick wall defense. That is so different. You probably won't want to get any of them in. There you are. With the first one of them being Cesar Salad. Wait, no, sorry, let's try that again. With the first one of them being Cesar Azpilicueta. Aha, that's better. Where he is somehow only owned by 3% of players. But he is the captain of a Chelsea team who are one of the best defences in the league. What? Yes, I know their fixtures are tough. Yes, he is a bit pricey, yeah. But I guarantee you, in just a few weeks, we're all going to be like, wow, yeah, this Chelsea defence is really good. Why did we not just chuck him in and just leave him there? Because honestly, they are that good. They could keep a clean sheet in all of their tough games, never mind their easy games. And I think that's something we all forget in FPL, right? We like to target fixtures so much that we sometimes forget about the best in the league. Like, yeah, Chelsea have harder fixtures than West Ham, let's say, but Chelsea are much more likely to keep a clean sheet against anyone than West Ham are. That's not to say ignore fixtures, but it also might mean don't ignore the best teams, maybe? Huh? I'll just leave that one with you to think about, okay, yeah. As we move on to the next defender, being Timothy Castagna. He was a bit of a Timothy Canstandia last season, as every time he did well, he gets injured. I like it. But being in that Leicester team and defence, playing as a wing-back, he actually has the potential to be one of the highest scoring defenders if he plays every game, which he could. But because you can get into that Leicester defence for 4.5 million with a Fofana, not many people want to look elsewhere, But then I present you with this question. Will Castagna outscore Fofana? Yeah, almost certainly, right? How much could he outscore him? If he has that much attacking threat where Fofana literally has nothing, is it suddenly worth an extra million? It very well might be. But because Fofana is so cheap, we don't want to look past it. But it could be worth it to lock up a little bit more and get someone a little bit better. So that is one we can keep an eye out on for there.
Hi guys, Nathan Bacon from the future here. So I was a bit of a cheeky scrub, right? We just talked about Castagna. I kind of forgot to mention about Sergio Reguilon. Reguilon, the ham lover himself. That's a bit of a differential in itself, and he loves his meat. Hey, you love it. But, yeah, I can't be bothered to, things, so we'll skip over him and go carry on.
But the next player to join us here, it's Matty Cash. Now, Cash won't save you any cash because he is actually the same price of his teammates in his defence, but actually got less attacking returns and also had little frequent injuries last season as well, so yeah, not as good. So this one could actually be an example of a bad differential, where with our given information and what we saw from last season, the likes of Target and maybe even Mings could and probably will be a better option throughout this season. That's not to say because of what's happened is guaranteed to happen again. That's not to say Cash is a very, very bad shout, right? But the only information we can go off is what we already know, and what we know is he's probably not as good as his other teammate. So when looking for differentials, it's very important to remember, don't just choose them because they're lower owned. Only choose them if you actually think they could do better, you know? Because if you chose a lower owned player and he does worse, you literally have the worst possible scenario. Everyone's gaining all the other points. You're getting some points, but those points are basically nothing. Unlucky. But next, on our final defender, it's my 7th favourite flower, actually, as it's Danny Rose. Danny has actually finally rose from the dead here after not playing for a whole year. Madness. But he has joined the newly promoted boys in Watford, who did do very well in the Championship last year. Now this type of differential is one of the riskiest unknowns we actually have, as we aren't quite sure on the quality of the Watford defence. Like, yeah, they did very well in the Championship last season, but that's the Championship. Will they be able to keep that up? But also, we don't know what the level of Rose currently is, right? Like, what if he's been properly slacking and eating all the pies of last year? We just don't know. Now, that's not to say Watford defence is very bad. That's not to say Rose is a very bad option. But because it's so unknown to us all, it's usually much better to just wait and hold off on those kind of things, as you kind of don't want to be forcing yourself into early transfers at the start of the season, you know? But that's not to say he's a terrible option. He could do very well throughout the season. You will have to see. Now that is the defence donezo. Now, if you notice, I've only put in defenders with big attacking potential here, as even though a defender themselves could be low owned, most of their points with the clean sheets won't be differential, as the other defenders will also be getting the clean sheets as well, you know? So if you do want a defender differential, just keep that in mind, right? Like, you can go for Wan-Bissaka as a differential, but if he's not getting attacking returns than that, he's not a differential over a Shaw, you know? So make sure you go for the more attacking ones if you want differential defenders. But moving up the field to the midfield, with the first man making few of us quite sad last season. Oh, so sad. As it's Sadio Mane. Now, Mane had a quite wibbly-wobbly season last year, didn't he? But did actually finish off the season strong. So if he could keep that up at the start of the season this time, he could well be a much better FPL option than he was last year, because he was terrible. But at his price, though, it's really not easy to get him in, right? 12 million, are you mad? And if you do want him, you might have to choose between Salah and Mane. Spoiler alert, please go for Salah. It will end in misery if you just go for Mane. So with this type of differential, the ownership sways so much where Mane is this low owned, but Salah, game week 1, will probably be so captained, his effective ownership will probably be over 100%. It is a massive, massive high risk, high reward if you go for Mane and he does better, which he could do, you know. But I myself, when it sways that much, I don't have big enough balls for that, you know. I would stick to Salah. And I would suggest, if you want Mane, go for Salah and Mane, not just Mane, because penalties and all that with Salah, he's just a much better option. But the next fella to join us, it's another one that ended last season strong. It's Nicolas Pepe. Now, Pepe's price has been going down, down, down every year now, but his attacking returns are going up, way! Where Arsenal players are actually all quite a bit overlooked right now as well, mainly because of that Chelsea and Man City in game week 2 and 3, I guess. Which, yeah, is very, very bad, okay. But after that, they have a run including the likes of Norwich and Burnley straight away, and all of the green straight after as well. So that's another point to mention with differentials too. You might look at a player and be like, wow, I really want to own him. He's only 5% owned, but then you look at his fixtures and they're just not quite good yet, you know? So it might be the case of right player, wrong time. But as soon as their fixtures turn, like Arsenal's doing game week 4, that could be massive, massive, massive. And although we can do all the planning we want, because we make so many transfers off of so many things, everything changes. If you make sure to jump on those good fixtures as soon as they come, then they'll still definitely be differential for at least a week, and hopefully a couple of weeks after that as well. But the next player to join us is the Toffees fan favourite, James. Yeah, just James, as FPL like to call him apparently. But as everyone else says, James Rodriguez. James started last season off very, very amazingly, right? When Everton had good fixtures and he had a good rest in between games as well. Everton this season have great fixtures. with also enough time to rest, huh? So could James, if he actually stays that is, be a good option at the start of this season? Maybe he could, you know, and also he could save you that extra 1 million over a DCL, and you could get some upside here. Something to think about, maybe. But no, I actually think he's probably one of the better differentials if he stays, because he could do quite well, but I don't know if he will stay. But the next player to join us here, a man trying to fight his way all the way back up to the top again because he's really dropped down, isn't he? It's Bamadeli Ali. My favourite Fortnite streamer is here, only currently selected by 1% of players. But understandable because he didn't play much last year and didn't do much either. But this year, I reckon he could be one of the biggest big boys for the Spursy this year. And one that could make an absolute mockery of his price tag of only 6.5 million. Are you mad? Man City game week 1 is, not very nice, is it? But then after that, oh boy, I reckon he's going to be absolutely on it, score all the golassos, and everybody's going to want to try and get in that spicy player right there. And also just an amazing cheap player to get into that Spurs attack where a lot of us don't want to go for Kane or Son, you know, but also maybe we might want a Spursy player in our team, you know. But next, and the final midfielder to join us, it's Bertrand Traoré. He actually managed to get the same amount of points as Grealish last season in similar minutes as well. Pretty good. And I feel like a Traoré was just very underappreciated last season, right? He did very well all season, and he is also a very direct winger who likes to shoot a lot and is also on a lot of set pieces. Why are a lot of us not looking at him? Now I reckon in those first 3 fixtures that Villa have, he could be an absolute worldie there, looking very, very tasty. But with a differential like this, you probably don't want to go just for him and not have the likes of Grealish or Watkins. It's probably the case of you have a Watkins, get in a Traoré as well, you know, not one or the other, but probably a pair up. And you put them alongside each other and you could get all of the points. Lovely. And that is the midfield done. Now, as you notice with most of these, they are pretty much the alternatives to the poster boys, you know, especially in their own team. We have a Mane instead of a Salah. We have an Ali instead of a Son, and even a Traoré instead of a Grealish. But on their day, and maybe throughout the entire season, they could very well outscore the other one. And again, as we've said with differentials, if you go for the lower owned player and they score more, you have a bigger upside. So is that a risk you are willing to take, lads? Will you be chucking some of these in your team? I know I reckon I want to. But forward and on to the forwards. We start with Obama who? Obama what? Obama Bloodgladvam. Aubameyang really went from 0 to hero, didn't he? Yeah, only scoring 10 goals last season. What happened to him? And that is the main reason he is only selected by 3% of players right now. Now, with so many great forwards out there, he's really, really hard to justify at the start of the season. No. But with those fixtures past game week 3, when he plays Norwich game week 4, could he actually become an actually good FPL asset? Wow. I reckon he could be one of the biggest differentials that could actually pay off if you do get him in for that game week 4 against Norwich. It could very well be worth it. But we move on to the penultimate player. It's the FPL troll himself, Callum Wilson. Wilson scored 12 goals last season in only 2,000 minutes, so actually had one of the better minutes per goal ratio out of all the forwards. Newcastle are also a team who are quite unpredictable and they're not very attacking, you know. And you also just never know when they're going to play well. Like, are you on the beach today, lads? Or today, do you actually fancy playing football? So this kind of differential pick, yeah, it just looks a bit ugly, doesn't it? Like, a Newcastle forward. I don't know about that. But I actually really wouldn't be surprised if he shocks a lot of us at the start of the season and does very, very well in fixtures that are actually a lot better than they might seem, you know. I reckon he could score all the goals. You heard it first year, lads. Everybody triple captain Wilson in game week 1, yeah, okay. But next, and the final player to join this built different differential team, it's Raul Jimenez. He's been out a very long time now with his nasty head injury, isn't he? But hopefully he can get back to his best here. Where Wolves, kind of an unknown again, aren't they? Because they have a new manager. I don't even know his name. That's how unknown he is to me. But something like that is actually quite good to keep their players a little bit quiet. And also the fact that they don't have the best first 3 fixtures. We can use that time to just sit back, relax, have a scout to their team, get the binoculars out again, and then past game week 4, oh yes, Bob's your uncle, you're getting all of their players in, and you're getting all of the points, all of the differential points for you. Yeah, boy! But that is going to be it for the less than 5% owned differential team. Where again, I must say, I am not actually suggesting this team itself, but more looking at examples of different types of differentials and players that might have gone under the radar for a bunch of different reasons that not only could do very well, but if you do go for them and they do pay off, you could even get a much bigger rank increase and could be the very thing to help you do very, very well this season in FPL. Lovely stuff. So thank you all for watching. And remember,
don't be a cheeky scrub. Subscribe to Nathan Bacon right now. Don't let your memes be dreams.